Jeez. Ladies and gentlemen, as Vic has hinted, I may be getting soft in my old age, but it's not my brain. So now it's time for the good news, the bad news, and the other shit. And today the topic is the Great Debate. Ta-da! Ladies and gentlemen, the Great Debate came off debate number 2 last night. I want to find out, what did you guys think?
Well,
anybody watch the Great Debate?
I actually watched the debate.
You did watch the debate?
I did, more so than you did.
Yeah, because I usually watch it later because I watch it at whenever I feel later at the night because it's so much bullshit to me. I'm sorry.
Let me tell you guys,
it's like everybody's doing a rehearse and they didn't even write the script. Everybody's got a whole script writing team behind them, telling them what to do and say and giving them the stats on everything, and it's a bunch of bullshit.
Well, actually, to tell you guys the truth, I got to give Mario more credit for this because actually, after we did the collab project, he actually turned to the rebroadcast of the debate. When I walked out of the room, I heard some audio sounds switching, and it was the Kim Kardashian channel. So he had switched back.
Some things are more important.
Right.
Some things are more important.
Well,
it's more important to deal with the, it's more important to deal with the debate.
Well, look, I'll say this. One is that they're never going to answer all the questions to a certainty that makes you feel, like, okay, this is done. But there's always that one question where you want to get closer to knowing who they really are. And here's the part where I said, now I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me. It was a better debate. Thumbs up for the stage of rage on the debate. Thumbs up for 2, the interactivity of having the drones of people in the room who's going to ask questions all look and feel alike. And please don't tell me the people that was in attendance represent the whole diverse part of America of undecided voters. That group looked like they were selected by a certain requirement.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe in undecided voters are people who don't follow politics. So have people in there that says, I haven't followed anything, so make your best pitch. You got 30 seconds. Now, from there, I took it to the question I thought was very important towards the end.
What?
Well, hold on. There goes that blue screen. The one that got me is when they said, could you tell the people one misconception or a misconception they have that relates to you? Who are you really? It's one of those things that say, here's the real person. This is who I am. This is a door opener where you say, here's Washington, here's politics. Do you allow yourself to be opened up? And I said, both of you guys failed miserably. When I said, this is the door where I said, now you want to sell yourself? I said, something they don't know or a misconception. Why did they? I said, this is personal.
Well, see, this is the problem. Now, let me just tell you something.
It's terrible.
And as a really strong radical leftist, I still don't think that we should be. Okay, let me just tell you, when I'm personally choosing leadership, I don't choose it based on how well you do speeches in public places. So I think it's a strong fallacy that you would use these kinds of things to choose your presidential candidate anyway. Remember, prior to this, you had to go by the written statements and occasional speech. It wasn't until the 1960s where you had the historic debates between Nixon and Kennedy where the impact of television was felt. So now, since that time, it's grown to be where it's a big dog and pony show.
Right.
If you want someone to lead the country, who's the best skilled at leading the country, what the hell does that have to do with your ability to come up with small talk, impressive conversation? It has absolutely nothing to do with that. And that's why, unfortunately, these types of things like the debate mislead even the most educated of us at times into actually believing it's relevant. It's a test of a different skill. It says nothing about your ability to manage the government or to be the president. No. And that's the bad thing about the debates to me. No. Just imagine this, you guys. Just stop for a second. Imagine you were going to hire somebody to say you had $10 million and you were going to hire somebody to run your company, would you have a debate between the candidates and then have them answer questions about irrelevant topics that they have no control over, like abortion? The president has no ability to control abortion.
Right.
Okay.
But they can't
voting for or not.
But
so why do you even care what their opinion is?
But they do have input on Supreme Court justices. And,
sure they do.
So from the periphery, yes, they do. But Mario, the part I was trying to get at is, I'm grading them on the stage of the play, not the deliverables that you find more important, which is true.
No, the topic, your questions are relevant.
Right.
But they should be allowed to respond to the question
right.
over time. In other words, if you ask somebody, how do you feel about the Middle East? And if they go, and if the test is for it, now I have a lot of opinions about the Middle East, but if you tell me I got to give you a 2-minute synopsis, I'm like, shit, let me go get to work on this and, and scale it all out, because that's a different skill set. You're not getting at the person's true opinions, and I'm more for the truth. That's all I'm saying.
No, I got you, and I agree. See, the part is they say, notice what the problem is in a debate. We only get 2 minutes. We only get 4 minutes. They only get 5 minutes. So what they're doing is talking to the groups who say, you need to give me the trickle down so I can hit the checks and balances down. I said, well, if you're talking about undecided voters, then you must be talking about people who are political. I'm just looking at the part where I said, now remember, Victor, if you're in a room and you're talking to somebody who's experienced in the industry you are in or your career, then you're talking to somebody who's just an adult, and then you're talking to young folks. Would you change your message if you were in the room separately with them? Yes, you would. Yeah. So what you're supposed to do, and I always think like this, I said, what is the biggest thing that I think that gets in the way? You want younger voters, which everybody now knows. We're in this social media day, this social media thing. I said, well, you think about it. Can you deliver a message without having 2 hours of 3-minute conversations to get across who am I? I'm going, at the end of the last question, I said, even if I'm not voting for you, can you kind of answer the question? It's called, you didn't answer the question.
They never answer. Okay, those of you, some of us have been, we know debate tactics. They do this thing, it's like you call it block, evade, then say what. So you ask them a question.
Terrible.
They block it and then say what they want.
It was terrible.
So the whole thing is that they have a list of things they have to get out.
Right.
And they're going to get those things out by blocking your question.
Right.
And then making the statement anyway.
And then when they run their time, it won't have enough time
so
for
that's
the
way, and that's the way they all do. That's why it's a bunch of bullshit. See, it's a bunch of bullshit because the president is just better at it than Mitt.
Wait a minute, Mario.
Just like they all, You
got a 12-year-old and 15-year-old listen to you. You want to communicate it a different
I would
way.
say, I would talk to them like I would talk to my 12-year-old. I want you to learn to evaluate people and circumstances. This is one that I consider to be bullshit. And even though you're 12 years old, you know when Daddy uses that word, what he means.
Now you come
I'm talking about the crap that people do to influence the people who are kind of stupid. They do shows. They put on presentations.
Right.
Because the people who are out there, the majority of whom are sheep, will believe whatever they are shown. So you can lead them. And there's tons of books on this, honey. There's tons of stories about this, my son. You could go read Machiavelli. You could go read all of that.
So are you saying that
they talk about how you run the dum-dums who are out there in the world?
Are you saying that Mitt Romney was right about his 47%?
No, I'm saying it doesn't make any difference what they say. I'm saying I'm saying the conversation is sort of irrelevant.
Yeah, that's
because it's even irrelevant what their personal viewpoints are, because it really has to do with the legislation they sign.
That's correct.
How many of them will sign different legislation than is what they actually believe? So their beliefs don't mean. So remember, that's why I said it's a dog and pony show. You're setting up something that's irrelevant, that's going to give you a false impression,
right?
So that you can use that false impression to
That's right.
evaluate or just evaluate the candidates using totally irrelevant things,
right,
to make a bad decision. And then it doesn't make any difference, I argue, for the most part, because when it comes to the money, Obama's just like all the rest. He does the exact. The only difference between, say, a Clinton and a Bush is about 10% of the money difference.
So let me ask you this:
okay, now that is significant money, but I'm just saying it ain't what you think.
Would you, if you had two candidates that basically operate the same way presidentially? No change, and we know this over the years. There's very little change when it swings from it's not even left to right as much as it is in the middle, and where's the money going? Does it matter if they religiously, spiritually have a philosophy that is more on the level of just a humane quality, not a political one? Does it matter if they all of a sudden say, I'm more personally for this?
Okay, let me be careful, but let me just tell you. Actually, no. Because like I said, they doesn't make any difference what the president hasn't closed Guantanamo.
See, that's what I'm saying.
The president
doesn't matter.
He hasn't done anything different militarily than Bush did, almost. Other than he talks different. Now let me just say this: in the war of image, Romney is an idiot. Okay.
Yeah, he just failed.
Now the president is fighting someone who's an idiot.
Right.
Now, so in the war of image, he's way better.
Right.
Is that image important? Of course it is. We said it before. The image affects children, consciousness. It affects a lot of variables. But to me, see, part of the conspiracy, it is Conspiracy Wednesday. Part of the conspiracy is to understand the powers that be. If they are as brilliant as I think they are, why wouldn't they give you those dosages of that? So the president, to me, represents hope, a dream, a better image. The reality is that he will be no different. And the next female president, she will be no different.
Right.
And the first gay president will be no different. And the first Latino president will be no difference. And so, therefore, the question really is, those of us who really care about the country and the world, what do we do and where do we head? I think we have to develop an international consciousness, but maintain always our suspicion. Never trust government. Ever. Inherently, governments are corrupt to me. I don't think you trust any government, period. Have I said that clearly? Mm-hmm. None. Zero.
Yeah.
There are no governments to trust.
Yeah.
Okay? Everyone will be corrupted. You must be forever vigilant. Forever.
And your tie-in to this will always be based around your own personal family portfolio. And that is that if the area of interest in politics also supports what you're doing, then politics on the stage of rage is wonderful for you because it enriches you. It does all those things because you're on the inside. So there are people who are going to listen to this and say, well, you guys don't get it. It all depends on perspective. You could trust politics not to be trusting, but you can be enriched by politics by being involved in it in a successful platform.
Certainly, that's the seductive part. Remember now, when we say enriched, what degree are we talking about? Yeah, you can learn to be a manipulative senator and make yourself super millionaire, enrich your community because of your ability to leverage money that's taken and feed it into your community, and that'll feel like success to some people.
Right.
Okay. But is that success?
Right.
See, is that really success? And if you go around the world and use influence, which they call this, when they talk about, they basically give money to governments.
Yeah.
To go along with certain programs.
Yeah, it's like a lobby.
So that's what we do.
It's the same.
That's why I told you. So that's where your money. Remember, I'm the one who reminded you. Go look it up. Don't just believe Mario. It's searchable. Go look up countries, military spending, country. Google it. Military spending by country.
Right.
In 2010, they got the 2011 out now, but I don't know that one by heart. But the 2010 one was, the 2011 was like $650 billion.
Right.
The 2010 was like $680 billion for defense. The nearest country was China with $114 billion. That's the degree to which you outspend the world. Have you heard any candidate in the midst of all this money stuff that we're doing? All this money meltdown, no money, everything broke. Have you heard any candidate mention cutting defense any degree? To any degree. If you are outspending the world, we outspend the entire world, and we are in an economic crisis, and you get no candidate, not one to talk about cutting military defense, therein lies the conspiracy.
Well, you know, Mitt is already...
Therein lies the conspiracy.
Mitt is already actually alluding a little bit to Obama wanting to cut. So...
Right, and Obama, and notice what Obama says. I'm not going to cut defense. Why? He's an insider like all of them. Like I said, he's no change.
No,
he's not. Obama is not going to cut defense because he's part of the whole machinery too.
Now, here's the thing.
No offense, he is, and that's why he's not going to cut it.
Now, this is the part where I have to turn around and say it's undeniable. The undeniability of all this is that what's worse than having two candidates that you really don't support as it relates to what you think are the greater things that enrich us as a people, not voting at all. And imagine you sitting up there with their, and they're in the other room going like this. You see those people over there? They're just screaming loud about neither one of us are good. But you don't want to go outside the day after and say, did you vote? And then you go, no.
But remember now,
you have by default, they go, you still on a 50-50.
Well, you may feel that way, and the point is, and that's the part that you take home, even though I'm not sure it's true. Because they already proved that, right?
Right.
They already proved they had an election
that's what I'm saying.
where the candidate lost, okay, and they proved that your vote. Isn't that how Bush got his second term?
When you don't vote, you feel even more guilty.
Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. My point is that it doesn't make any difference. The whole point is to give you the illusion that you have some degree of control, and you don't. And the reason why they have an electoral college is because your founding fathers, and you can go read these articles because they discussed it, didn't want the common man to have that much control over government. They thought he was too stupid. Ben Franklin has essays on this.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Jefferson, go read it. Okay, go read it. They all thought the American public was too stupid. And by the way, the ruling people, they don't think too much differently today.
Is there?
I don't know. You get out of college, you don't get out of college thinking the American public is really smart. You come out thinking you can make them believe whatever you want.
Aren't you caught? I'm caught between this because I think people have to make this fine line. Nobody feels good. There is no form of groups of people who say, let's celebrate the people who didn't vote because they didn't like the candidates. You know what we're caught between? Especially if it depends on your perspective. If people have died, gone to wars, have done things in the past to afford us to make a choice, to have that choice, do you keep that in mind as it moves forward, even with...
Well, sure you do.
Now, is it better to think about them saying, look, I represent what they died for, even though I have two candidates that I don't endorse either way, because philosophically they're doing the same thing.
Totally. Sure they do. Let me just be Mario, the crazy maniac running the world for a minute.
Just for today?
I would just, imagine I would set it up so that you would think your vote counted.
Right.
You would vote.
Right.
I would give you a set of candidates from which you could choose, both of whom I control. Doesn't it sound like what we do today? Mm-hmm. And I would say you can choose from A or B.
Right.
But really, I'm the one in charge. I got both of them. I own the Federal Reserve Bank. I bankroll everything.
Yep.
And you're just too stupid to understand. And why should we tell you anyway? Because you'll happily go along with whatever I do.
Right.
And Machiavelli said, and periodically, I push you to the brink.
Right.
And then when I put you to the brink,
then
I let off for a little while and give you a little teeny reward,
then you're
a little less.
then
you're happy as shit, and you're my fucking sheep. Okay, and that's what I pimp you. That's what I do,
now,
and your children, and that's my job.
Wait a minute. You have to talk
that's
to young.
The job.
Are you talking to young people right now, or the assholes? Because you are communicating to.
I'm just telling you. That's what everybody. That's the way I'm saying it. That's what I think they're doing. So Mac is telling you that, remember, these are some of the greatest lies out there.
Right.
These are some of the greatest lies out there. The third was, we are from the federal government. We are here to help you. The second is the check is in the mail. I don't know what the first one are. But I'm saying, although I know the first one, I can't say that. And I've used that.
No, you can't.
I've used that, Mac.
Yeah.
See, that's the whole thing. I'm just telling you, this is Conspiracy Wednesday. I have not believed in any of this since I was in college. Okay, and everything I've learned and watched since that time has fostered and made my own conspiracy ideas grow. There's no change. Go check the money, you guys. Go check the money. Yeah. You can see that none of the presidents spend any differently.
No.
Go check the money. They got people who've done analysis that go all the way back. And when you go see that Clinton don't spend differently than Reagan or Obama or Bush, and they all spending their money the same place. So that's all I'm telling you. I don't know if you want to call it, I say it is Conspiracy Wednesday. Watch what happens. The conspiracy that we say is that this is the illusion of an election that is a competition. It is no competition. The president is going to win.
No, let me ask you something.
Okay, the president is going to win.
Let me ask you something.
If I can go make a bet on that, can we make a bet on that?
Well, no, let me say this. How did your parents talk to you younger when they talked about politics?
Similar ways. We were in the Vietnam era.
Right. See that?
What happened was I wrote a poem about how I wanted to go off and fight for America in Vietnam, and my father was outraged. My father was outraged. He was, oh, hell no. Hell, that's like, we off to the library bookstore now, damn it. You about to read. I was like, what did I do?
Goodness, no.
You know when you ever do some shit,
right.
You don't even know what you did? All I know is I didn't even like, well, what did I do?
I don't.
Oh, my daddy was like, oh, hell no. They got my son brainwashed. They got my son wanting to go fight in Vietnam. Oh, hell no. I'm about to go educate this young Negro. My daddy went crazy. I can still remember. I wrote this poem for the country I love. My daddy went insane.
It's so different, especially because for me, my father fought in Korea. So it's amazing how your parents either influence, and I'm going to use a word that doesn't belong, defluence, or they just have no opinion. I remember my mom didn't know that I was going down and signing up, but my father did, and he didn't want to say anything. And nobody said anything. And I said, I'm being influenced by the casualness of my family. And then going down in that office, and then you get a little bit more knowledge between then and that moment.
Well, it was a good job, Dick, for years. Remember now, while you were out of conflict, a lot of black folks were appreciating getting these government and military. Right. It was first of all, a revolution.
Right.
It was We talked about Merida's father, one of the first black Marines, one of the first black Marines. So remember, this was pioneering times. The consciousness is different. You cannot look at these issues outside of the consciousness of the time. You won't get it.
Right.
You had to be there to understand what was black folks' mentality. And that reason, because I was there, is why I understand why I can only be so hard on the president. Because no matter what, black people needed to have this to celebrate it for their heart, for their spirit. Right. And that's where the conspiracy comes in. They know that. Just like Latinos need it and women need it. Everybody will get their chance to be president, but the president will end up doing nothing different.
Yeah.
The first woman president will do nothing different. I guarantee you. What did Margaret Thatcher do, and what did Margaret Thatcher teach you about that in England? Can you find a better example of no change than Margaret Thatcher as a woman?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is.
All right.
I just, there's got to be a ray of hope. And I think it's philosophical. Or if you have the data. And if you go look at the data, you know how they say, when you go dig down deep to discover, and then somebody goes like, guess what? They found out the truth. And the guys are down the hallway going, he did? He did? How does he feel about it? And they sit there and he says, he's going to go out and shout to the world. He says, okay. Well, we hope he does a good job of that.
Right. It doesn't make any difference. They already proved. It's like the Matrix. When you get in there, they say, we sponsored the last people that came through. Right. We were the one paying your bills the last 10 years.
Right.
You didn't know that? We are so-and-so. That organization that was contributing to you, that's us.
Yeah.
We need people like you to keep it interesting.
Thank you.
To make it interesting. But you're not going to win shit. You're not going to win shit. But you can tell you what. We so happy with the job you did. Take a couple golden eggs.
Thank you.
Thank you. You get to have some money. We glad to have you. We won't tell if you won't tell. Bye. And on the game goes on.
That's it. That's it.
Well, tell you what. I did find one piece of video that gives the best insight on debate, and I brought it for you today. Here it is.
The League of Feminine Felines presents The Great Debate.
What's to debate? I'm finicky, he's not.
I suggest there is no difference in cat food. Take this branch.
Please do.
Seafood surprise.
Seafood? Wait till he looks inside.
Sort of looks like seafood.
Surprise.
Now 9 Lives Fisherman Stew. What looks like nutritious stew with real delicious fish. I
rest my case.
Vote 9 Lives, a more satisfying choice.
Yay! Vote 9 Lives.
Okay, you know what?
Vote 9 Lives.
Okay, you do want to tell us what year that was.
Oh, I can't tell you guys.
You don't want to tell us?
Hey, last topic is kind of a bummer, but it's actually only a bummer in the beginning. This is about the Pakistani teen that was actually shot. Okay, actually shot, and what's happening with her now. She was shot because she actually came out sort of as a young person, you know how willing they are to speak. Here's what she did.
Malala Yousafzai, a 14-year-old student and children's activist from the town of Mingora in Swat, was wounded severely when unidentified men opened fire on her bus. Yousafzai, who was a student at the Khushal Public School, was accompanied by another girl named Shazia and a teacher when the incident happened.
हमारे स्कूल की छुट्टी और हम घर वापसी पर आ रहे थे तो इसी दौरान किसी शख्स ने गाड़ी रुकवाई और वो कहने लगा कि मलाला यूसुफज़ई कौन है। तो फिर हम लड़कियां सब अंदर बैठी हुई थी तो उन्होंने कहा कि मलाला यूसुफज़ई कौन है। हमने कहा यही है। फिर उसने फायरिंग की और मलाला यूसुफज़ई और एक मैं और एक दूसरी लड़की, हम तीनों इसमें जख्मी हुई।
Malala is famous for her struggle to restore peace and education for girls in the Swat region. She was also awarded the National Peace Award by the government of Pakistan in 2011 for her courageous services. Malala is currently under treatment at a hospital in Peshawar as many across the country pray for the life and recovery of this young warrior.
We had the same kind of issues here, and it was Christians.
Yeah.
The point is that everyone must move forward with this young lady. They have schools. She's become a symbol for women all over the world. Again, in her martyrdom, shot, again, just for speaking out, different roles for women.
And they've already assigned that it's the Taliban, right?
Well, remember now, this is where the Conspiracy Wednesday comes in. Those of us who were anticipating when you look at the region, let's say, once again, let me just speak as if I was the evil commander. I would go, I want to conquer this region. Let's look at the characteristics of these people that I can use in a PR campaign that would cause you to allow me to go in and take all their shit. Mm-hmm. Oh, guess what? Look how they are with their religion. Look how they are with their women. I can promote that. That'll make you give me permission to go in and take all their shit.
Right.
So I'm going to go in and take all their shit. And we'll act like it's because of their religion.
Right.
And we'll say they're bad people.
Right.
But really, I'm just going to take their shit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
that's the way I see it. So it would have been, they were ready, able to be taken and used in a PR campaign.
Right.
They continue to be their own worst enemy in the world's PR campaign. Many of the folks who are indigenous to these regions. Mm-hmm. So that's the way the Western powers legitimize their intrusions into your country. Mm-hmm. On the but they don't give a shit about your women. They don't give a shit about their own women. But they're coming in there to save the women. Okay. Right. They're coming in there to take their shit.
Right.
And this is the way you do it. If I was doing it, it's the way I would do it too. And say, you're a right fish. I can make the world cry out for me to come in and take your shit.
So the same group. So it kind of reminds me of when they say randomly, and I'm not trying to say this is the case. It's like looking at when something happens in Los Angeles.
Totally.
That the
like
first
the
thing,
shuttle.
Yeah, you'll sit there. And you have this pre-doctrine of what you think it may be. So you actually say, well, I think it's going to, if it's gangs or if it's this or if it's that, whatever it's attributable to, you'll just say by default, it must be the gangs, must be minorities, must be this. And then sometimes somebody pops out from a different background and catches you all by surprise. So the bottom line is in these regions, By the time the information is delineated and passed on down to you, you don't know what it is, but for the best interest at hand, it's best to paint the story favorable to your cause. So in the end, Mario, does it really matter that she survived? Yes. That was the part I thought about, that she survived. Because you usually can't walk away from a shot in the head.
Well, that's why we're rooting for her.
Shots, so
yeah, that's why we're rooting for her, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but the question is that being pimped? That's all I'm saying. We all are in favor of her.
Do you want to be pimped?
No, but I'm sure I've been pimped. I think we all get pimped.
Wait a minute.
I think I'm being pimped right now. I just paid taxes.
Wait a minute. I got a question. There's a rule that's done by a famous former guest on our show. He says, well, what's the reason why you're doing this? Now, I'm not going to tell you who it is.
I remember why I'm doing this?
Why are you doing this?
Why I'm doing this?
No. Why are you doing Pack Stereo TV to do what?
Because.
Why are you doing it?
It's my way of fighting back against all of this. Because against insurmountable odds.
Right.
See, that's what they say. I remember there's a wonderful piece done by Reverend Michael about embracing your calling. And it's a wonderful piece he did. He says basically how it's got to seem like it's impossible anyway.
Right.
But I cannot go out without a fight.
Right.
So I have to struggle against. What we're doing here with internet television has everything to do with my politics. Vic will tell you he and I made an agreement in terms of the programming, right? To limit the political stuff, because I would have had the whole half the stuff politics.
If he will be going to
internet
sleep,
television would have been damn near most of what with all politics. So Vic and I made a decision, but know that the part of the reason, and that's why it's tied into the artist development. This is my way of saying we as individuals. That's why I support my Republican friends. You know, we have the hip hop Republican. I'm neither hip hop nor Republican. Okay, This is why I support my friends of different political views, because I think that we all should be heard within this venue. By being heard, we are struggling against the powers that be who attempt to control this whole world.
Well, let me ask you this.
And they probably going to try to control. I know they're trying to control this.
No, hold on. So I'm just trying to bring it around. I'm going like, look, we got some people, some converts. The converts are in the building.
Oh,
so
okay.
Here it is.
I'm just.
This
you, man.
This is it.
Yeah.
You are sending out the message.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know. In other words, as I studied at Vic, coming out of college and all this, and studied and read and all this stuff, mostly you become disillusioned because you realize you're up against insurmountable odds, the most power ever assembled in the world. It's literally you feel, to me when you're educated about it, you mostly feel overwhelmed by the size of the opposition against you.
Right.
And everything screams you have no chance. It's really because my personality is such that I don't want to let that intimidate me one goddamn bit. That we continue to do this.
Watch this.
Because I don't care if there's no chance.
Watch this.
We're going to make it.
Watch this. See, Mario don't understand. See, I asked a different question. See, I was going, they're looking at, because to make this grow, you guys, you need cheese. And those who have cheese bring you down to your knees. Make you sit back and go, the clock is ticking. So while you're sitting here going, you know what you do, Mario, you do a damn good job of
I said it's the Matrix.
You do a great job of slamming us so good.
They might even hire me.
We want to give you the money.
See, I told you.
So
that's what they would do.
So at the moment that here's the money coming for four different directions, what do you do?
What you do is you take the money and keep doing what you do. No, why? Because, in other words, here's the part about playing the game. The people at the top understand that even having a certain amount of opposition works. They feel like they cannot be turned over. It's the Matrix. So they don't care. You don't threaten them.
Sure don't.
You don't threaten them. You are no threat to them. So they say like, well, you can have some. We get so bored up here ruling shit. And so every time we get somebody, are you black too?
Right.
You bringing some kind of opposition? I remember that last one.
Which one?
Martin Luther King.
That's wrong.
And he caused us to give up some crumbs, and that's where black people got the crumbs they have today.
See?
So you could be the next one of those if you want. We'll give out some more crumbs.
Right.
Okay, that's the way I think it really goes down.
Yeah.
I know it's terrible as it sounds. Everybody.
In other words, Mario will get the money from the people he's complaining
And I'll
about.
come back and do stuff for you because they will even help me because they will go like, you think you going to go out there and help those people? Really? We got to see this. Here's some money. We're going to sit back. We don't believe you can pull it off.
Sure can.
But we sure want to watch you try.
No way.
Go.
Done.
Go. That's what's going to happen. And I'm going to come back and try to get the ungrateful and the unwilling to do the impossible. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the good news. That's the bad news.
That's just a terrible day.
And that's the other shit. That's the good news. The bad news. Conspiracy Wednesday. I don't know if we made it any better, but hell, it was Conspiracy Wednesday. Who said answers? We just promised you questions.
I just laughed.